I still remember the exact moment I realized what was happening. It was a Tuesday morning, and I was walking into our weekly leadership meeting when Sarah caught my eye across the conference room. But this time, there was no smile, no subtle acknowledgement, just a cold, professional stare that felt like a stranger looking through me. 3 months earlier, that same look had been warm, inviting, real. But that was before her promotion, before the company's strict non-fraternization policy became more than just words in an employee handbook, before she had to make a choice between what she wanted and what her career demanded. This is the story of how I learned that sometimes the hardest breakups aren't about falling out of love. They're about falling into impossible circumstances. Let me take you back 6 months. I've been with Meridian Tech for 3 years as a senior product manager, good at my job, respected by my team, comfortable in my career trajectory. I wasn't looking for anything to change. Then Sarah transferred from our West Coast office. She joined as a project director, my peer on paper, though we worked in different divisions. Our first real conversation happened in the break room. On her second day, she was struggling with a temperamental coffee machine, the one that everyone knew required you to press the button twice, wait 3 seconds, then press once more. This thing hate me specifically, or is it an equal opportunity frustrator? She asked. I laughed and showed her the trick. We ended up talking for 20 minutes about everything except work, her background in architecture before tech, my failed attempt at learning guitar during the pandemic, the weird corporate art in the hallway that looked like either a sunset or a medical diagram, depending on your angle. It was easy, natural, the kind of connection that doesn't announce itself with fireworks, but settles in like it's always belonged there. Over the next few weeks, our interactions multiply. Coffee runs turned into lunch conversations. Work questions became after hours texts. We discovered we lived in the same neighborhood and started sharing ride shares home. The company had always been clear about their policy. No romantic relationships between employees who have any reporting relationship or who work in overlapping projects. Since we were in completely different divisions with no direct collaboration, we were in the clear, technically. We started dating officially 2 months after she arrived. Dinner at a small Italian place where neither of us could pronounce anything on the menu correctly. A weekend hiking trip where she completely outpaced me and pretended not to notice how winded I was. Movie nights that turned into morning coffees. For 3 months, it was perfect. We kept it relatively quiet at work, not because we were hiding, but because we wanted something that belonged just to us before it became office gossip. A few close friends knew. HR didn't need to know because there was no conflict of interest. We were careful, professional, and genuinely happy. Then came the leadership restructuring. Meridian was reorganizing the entire product and development side of the company. They were creating a new VP of product innovation role, overseeing all product development, including my division. It was a massive promotion, the kind of opportunity people spend their entire careers hoping for. Sarah was one of 3 internal candidates. When she told me she was being considered, I was genuinely thrilled for her. She was brilliant, strategic, exactly the kind of leader the company needed. I never once thought about what it might mean for us. She did, though. I remember the conversation we had in her apartment the night before her final interview. If I get this, she said quietly, everything changes. You mean we'd have to disclose our relationship to HR? I said. That's fine. We've done nothing wrong. She shook her head. It's not that simple. Have you actually read the updated policy? they sent out last month? I hadn't. Like most people, I skimmed the email and assumed it didn't apply to me. She pulled it up on her laptop and we read it together. The language was clear. Employees in romantic relationships where one person has authority over the other's employment status, compensation, or career advancement are required to either disclose the relationship for reassignment or one party must resign. But they just reassigned one of us, I said. Different divisions, different reporting lines, problem solved. Sarah looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Marcus, you're a senior product manager. I would be the VP of all product development. There is no reassignment that wouldn't put me in your chain of command. The entire product organization would report up through me. The reality settled over me slowly. So we have to disclose, and then one of us would need to leave the company. Or we end things before I accept the position. We sat in silence for a long time. You're going to get this job, I finally said, and you should take it. We'll figure out the rest. She got the job. The announcement came a week later, the week after Sarah's promotion was announced, but before she officially started in the new role. We had the conversation I've been dreading. We met at a park near her place, somewhere neutral, where the weight of the office couldn't press down on us. I've been running through every scenario, she started. I've talked to HR confidentially. I've looked at the policy from every angle. There's no loophole here. So we disclose, and I find another job, I said. I've been at Meridian for 3 years. That's a respectable tenure. I can find something else. She looked at me with something like pain. You love your job. You're up for promotion to director next cycle. Your team respects you. I can't be the reason you walk away from that. You're not a reason. You're a person I care about. We can make this work. Can we, though? Her voice cracked slightly. Even if you found another job immediately, you'd be leaving a place you love, a team you've built, a career trajectory you've earned, all because you're dating me. How long before that becomes resentment? That wouldn't happen. Maybe not next month or next year, but eventually? Marcus, I've seen this pattern. Someone sacrifices their career for a relationship, and it becomes the thing they can point to at every time things get hard. The thing they gave up, the price they paid. I wanted to argue, but part of me understood what she was saying. She continued, and there's another reality we need to face. If we disclose and you stay, trying to transfer to a different company, division or something, everyone will know. Every interaction I have with the product team, every decision I make that affects your area, people will question it. Did Marcus get that project because he deserves it? Or because they're together? Is Sarah being too hot on his team to overcompensate? It poisons everything. So what are you saying? She took a deep breath. I'm saying maybe we got the timing wrong. If we had another year before this opportunity came up, or if we'd met at different companies, this would be different. But right now, in this moment, there's no path forward that doesn't hurt one of us professionally. So you want to end things? I said it as a statement, not a question. I want you, she said, and I could hear the truth in it. But I also worked for 15 years to get to this level. This isn't just a job to me. It's everything I've built. And I can't ask you to give up what you've built either. We sat there as joggers passed by, as dogs chased frisbees, as life continued normally around us while ours was fracturing. What if we just kept it quiet, I asked, knowing, even as I said it, how it sounded. You mean lie? Risk both our careers? Put the company in a liability situation? and spent every day looking over our shoulders, she shook her head. That's not who either of us are. She was right. We built our relationship on honesty, on integrity. Starting to hide it now would corrupt everything we'd been to each other. We broke up that day in the park. No drama, no anger, just a quiet acknowledgement that sometimes caring about someone means letting them go. The next month was harder than I expected. We had to maintain complete professionalism at work. She started in her new role, and suddenly she was in meetings I attended, making decisions that affected my projects, leading the division I was part of, and we had to act like we were nothing to each other. I understood the necessity. The policy existed for good reasons: to prevent favoritism, to protect against harassment and power imbalances, to maintain professional integrity. These weren't arbitrary rules. They were guardrails that protected employees and the organization. But understanding something intellectually doesn't make it easier emotionally. The hardest part wasn't the breakup itself. It was watching her become the leader I always knew she could be, while feeling like I was a problem she'd solve. In meetings, she was brilliant, strategic, exactly what the company needed, and I was genuinely proud of her. But there were these moments: a brief eye contact across a conference room, the way she'd pause slightly when saying my name in a meeting, the careful distance she maintained that told me the professional mask cost her something too. 2 months after her promotion, I was leaving the office late and found her still at her desk. Everyone else had gone home. It was the first time we'd been alone since the park. "Hey," I said from her doorway. She looked up, and for just a second, the professional veneer slipped. "Hey, you're doing an amazing job," I said. "The product roadmap you presented yesterday was exactly what we needed." "Thanks," she paused. "Your team's work on the user experience redesign has been exceptional. You should be proud." We stood there in the awkward space between what we used to be and what we were required to be now. "Does it get easier?" I asked. She considered the question carefully. "Different. It gets different. Some days I forget to miss you because I'm so focused on work. Other days," she trailed off, "but I think I made the right choice for both of us, even if it doesn't feel right, especially then. The choices that feel easy usually aren't the ones that matter most." That conversation stayed with me. It made me think about the larger questions we don't often examine. What do we owe our careers versus what we owe our personal lives? When does professional policy protect people, and when does it punish them? How do we navigate a world where work takes up so much of our lives that it's inevitable we'll form connections there? I'm not arguing against non-fraternization policies. I understand why they exist. Power imbalances in relationships can lead to coercion. Favoritism can corrupt workplace fairness, and companies have legitimate interests in preventing conflicts of interest. But I also think we don't talk enough about the cost of these policies on real people in complicated situations. Sarah and I weren't a senior executive and an intern. We weren't even in a reporting relationship. When we started dating, we were peers who genuinely connected, who followed the rules, and who got caught by circumstances neither of us controlled. The policy didn't account for timing, for the unpredictability of career opportunities, for the fact that two people can do everything right and still end up in an impossible situation. About 4 months after the breakup, I got a call from a recruiter. A competitor was looking for a director of product management. It was a promotion, a significant raise, and most importantly, it was away from Meridian. I almost didn't take the call. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that staying at Meridian meant staying in a situation where I was always going to be the guy who used to date his VP. Every interaction with Sarah would be tinged with history. Every promotion or setback in my career would make me wonder if our past relationship played a role. I took the interview. Then I took the job. It's been 6 months since I left Meridian. The new job is great. I'm genuinely happy with the choice I made. And leaving turned out to be the right decision for my career, independent of anything to do with Sarah. But I'd be lying if I said I don't think about what might have been, not in a way that consumes me, but in that quiet space where alternate timelines live. Here's what I learned from all of this. First, workplace policies are created to protect the majority from worst case scenarios, but they're blunt instruments. They can't account for every situation, and sometimes good people get caught in the machinery of necessary rules. Second, loving someone sometimes means making choices that hurt. Sarah didn't need me gone because she didn't care. She needed me gone because she cared about both of us too much to let either of us sacrifice what we'd built professionally. Third, you can do everything right and still lose. We disclosed nothing because there was nothing to disclose when it mattered. We were professional, ethical, and careful, and it still didn't work out. Sometimes life is like that. Finally, the narrative that someone wanted you gone when they're actually trying to protect you both is more common than we admit. It's easy to make Sarah the villain in this story, the ambitious woman who chose her career over a relationship. But that's not what happened. She made an impossible choice in an impossible situation, and she did it with integrity. She could have hidden our relationship and risked both our careers. She could have expected me to quit without question. She could have taken the easy path of staying in her old role and resenting the opportunities she passed up. Instead, she faced reality head on and made the call that hurt her, but protected us both long term. I respect that, even when it still stings. Last month, I ran into her at an industry conference. We had coffee like professionals do. We talked about work, about the projects we're excited about the directions our careers are taking. And at the end, as we were saying goodbye, she said something I haven't stopped thinking about. I hope you know I didn't want you gone. I wanted you. But sometimes the wanting isn't enough to overcome the reality. She's right. And maybe that's the hardest lesson, that love and circumstances don't always align, that timing matters as much as connection, and that doing the right thing doesn't always feel right. The organization didn't allow such, and sometimes that's just how it is. For anyone facing similar situations, check your company's policies before starting any workplace relationship. Talk to HR if circumstances change. And remember that choosing your career doesn't make you heartless. It makes you honest about the complexity of adult life. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone go so you can both become who you're meant to be.